Alhamdulillah, you heard the recitation of Surah Anfal and most of Surah Tawbah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals His Quran as a means of hidayah, guidance, and a Shifā, a cure for illnesses. The word Shifā would imply that human beings have diseases, that human beings are sick. Human beings have illnesses and they have diseases and they're sick. وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ. We send down from the Quran that which is a Shifā, a cure. But in order for a cure to happen, you have to acknowledge the illness or the disease. And the greatest disease of the human being is to deny that they're sick. I don't mean medically. The doctor will tell you the same thing. Don't be in denial. Your shrink will say, you're in denial. But this denial of sickness is denial in thought, in aqidah, in perception, in your intellect, in your thinking, which is one of the most difficult illnesses to acknowledge. Because human beings by nature, want to be in control of their own thinking. They don't want anyone else to come into their minds and adjust their thinking. They don't want a referee to say, this is right and this is wrong. كَلَّا إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَيَطْغَى. Indeed, man is very rebellious in his understanding, thinking, of his opinions, of his perceptions. So the Quran comes to remove the illness of subtle arrogance that all human beings suffer from. Don't tell me I'm wrong. I can't be wrong. I can never be wrong. Because it's the most precious faculty human beings have. And it's probably the only thing you got that is yours. Right? Your mind, your thoughts, your aspirations, your dreams, your perceptions, your understanding is very personal. It's very private. For someone to enter that private space is an infringement on human values. See, you're not coming here. This is very private. Right? So when you argue and you are arguing with whoever, we argue all the time. We love arguing. That's what human beings are. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ كَانَ الْإِنسَانُ أَكْثَرَ شَيْءٍ جَدَلًا. Insan is the most argumentative thing there is. أَكْثَرَ شَيْءٍ. Shay means thing. The most argumentative thing is insan, man. He loves to argue. Always contentious. Always what? Contentious. So if there's an opinion, you'll have a counter opinion. Because you love to argue. Okay. The closer you are to human being, the more you'll argue. That's why you argue with your spouse all the time. Because your spouse is the closest thing to you. And you argue, you bicker, you argue, you bicker, you argue. They always argue. It's a sign of closeness. Don't get me wrong. You can argue with your spouse, and please go ahead, argue, do what you want. But you argue sometimes in the wrong way, and your conclusions are wrong. And when someone tells you your conclusions are wrong, that's when you become defensive and say, no, you're not coming into my private space, which is, don't tell me that I'm doing this wrong. قل هل ننبئكم بالأخسرين أعمالا الذين ضل سعيهم في الحياة الدنيا وهم يحسبون أنهم يحسنون صنعا. So the Quran addresses this sickness, this illness, this deficiency, this fault in human thinking in this ayah at the end of Surah Kahf. Shall I not inform you? Shall we not inform you of the one who is the most lost in terms of amal? Bil-akhsarina amal, the one who loses the most reward. Meaning you do good deeds, or you think you do good deeds, but you don't get rewarded. In fact, you get sin. Who are those? Those who are misguided in their effort. Dalla sa'yuhum. Those whose efforts are misguided, meaning they do the effort, they work, they'll perspire, they'll do everything that's needed, but their thinking leads them to dalala, error, misguidance. So their efforts are misguided. It's like that you're planting the whole day, you're in the field, you're plowing, you're doing the tilth, and you're doing everything you want to do, and at the end of the day, and you put the wrong seed in. You put in the wrong seed. These were supposed to be wheat seeds, but you didn't get wheat seeds. You got barley seeds. So at the end of the day, you perspired, you've toiled, you labored. Oh, I've done all this work. No. Okay, then you say, this is the wrong thing. So the Quran makes it very clear that not every human attempt to do good things is correct. It is misguided. Dhalla, from the word dhalala, you all know the word dhalala, they're misled. You're misguided. So this stems from the human sickness of what I call subtle arrogance. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Don't tell me I'm wrong. That's why the mission of the Anbiya is probably the most agonizing mission of all, because they have to go to human beings and say, you got your God wrong. Never mind everything else, your religion is wrong. The most sacred thing to the human being is religion. So when the Anbiya come and they tell the Quraysh, you're worshipping these idols that are false and you're going to hell. The most difficult task that any human being can be assigned is that of a Nabi who has to tell his people, all your worship is wrong. That this ayah is saying. وَيَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. And these people who are misguided, they believe, they think they are the best in action. يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. They're doing perfect in their action. So now the Anbiya are going to be faced with resistance, rejection, denial, hatred, animosity, derision, and expulsion, and even death. You see how difficult it is for one human being to tell another human being that what you're doing is wrong. Humans won't accept it. They can't. Why? Because they're diseased. They're in denial. They reject the truth. They don't believe they have an illness. So when the Quran comes down as a Shifā, a cure, that it means what are you curing? You're curing an illness at the very least, an aberration, or you're curing a disease, which is even worse. So shirk is a disease. Nifaq, hypocrisy is a disease. Not knowing how to worship Allah is a disease. Jahl is a disease. not knowing how to do your salat and how to do your sawm and how to give your zakat and how to perform hajj is a disease, is an illness. It has to be cured. What's the cure? Knowledge, truth, hidayah, guidance. That's why when people, mashallah, alhamdulillah, we all love fiqh. Okay, we all pseudo muftis in the house. Subhanallah, mashallah. I don't need the mufti, I am the mufti. But you're doing this wrong. No, don't tell me I'm wrong. But the mufti says, never mind the mufti, he doesn't know anything. I know everything, but you're doing it wrong. See how stubborn and defensive we become. Don't tell me I'm wrong. That's an illness. It's a disease. And the Quran comes to cure that. Give Shifā to it. This is the message that the Prophet ﷺ came to deliver to people, that you're sick, you're mental, you're psychos, you're jahilun. We're going to give you a remedy that's going to make you good and make you eligible to go into Jannah. Bismillah. So that's what the Quran is. That is very, very simple. Very bitter medicine. Some medicine might be sweet. Some medicine is very bitter to swallow. And you reject it. No, I don't want it. You'll vomit it out. I don't want this. So that is now the philosophy of Shifā in the Quran, that the Quran mentions. Shifā lima fi sudur. Several ayahs say Shifā. Shifā for what's in the hearts. What's in the hearts are these metaphysical inabilities, disabilities, and handicaps. They're metaphysical, they're intellectual, they're mental. So all these bid'at are mental. They're up here. Should I do this way? I can do this way because my mind says it's okay. But the Sharia comes and says, it is not okay. You have to get the fiqh right. Yeah. Meaning, don't use your ijtihad. You can't even expel the word ijtihad in Arabic anyway. So, get off your high horse. You don't know what ijtihad is. You have no idea what ijtihad is. You don't know fiqh, never mind ijtihad. Ijtihad is on the back of knowing fiqh, but you don't know fiqh. What is halal? What is haram? Is this good? Is this not good? So many people come, they write, mashallah, to their credit, to Darul Ifta, Darul Qasim. And we have these amazing, amazing questions that just show the amount of jahl, ignorance there is in the community. That's what it tells us. We answer, and it's good that they're asking, which shows they have a sense of taqwa. I want to get this right. And to their credit, they acquiesce and say, oh yeah, if you say this is wrong, I'm not doing it. Finish, khalas, end of story. The Prophet ﷺ saw that a Sahabi came in and he told him, come here, you didn't do your wudu properly. So, oh, okay. So he went and he did his wudu properly the second time. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the attitude of the Sahabah was not defensive. He didn't say, why the heck are you telling me that I just did my wudu? Why are you telling me I didn't do my wudu? He didn't reject what the Prophet was saying. He took his shifā, he took his medicine, and he cured himself by not being holier than thou, not being defensive. So if somebody comes to you and says, hey, just be careful here, you may not be doing this the proper way. Don't go on a rampage and say, I'm going to beat you up. That's it. I'm going to tell my family not to, have anything to do with your family anymore. Finish, khalas, end of story. So you have to learn the humble way to accept what we call Islah, reformation. So what I'm saying is, I'm dragging this a bit more than I needed to, but anyway, what I'm saying is that Surah Bara'ah, Surah Tawbah, is just chastising the whole ummah. The whole surah is condemning almost everything the Sahaba were doing. You understand? The Sahaba, they're with the Prophet, and the Quran says, you guys got to shape up. You're not up to standard. You got to do more than what you're doing. That's what this surah is about. It's a mood. The mood of Surah Bara'ah is very militant, very domineering. You can say that's why there's no Bismillah. So there's no Bismillah in Surah Bara'ah because there's no compassion there. Allah is telling you straight, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. So that's the mood of the surah. And the Sahaba, subhanAllah, they took it. They took it on the chin. They didn't fall down. There was no knockout. They took it in stride. Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah, thank you. Now we are cured now. So what I want to show you is the attitude of the Sahaba towards Allah saying, you're sick, you're ill, you're diseased, you need to be cured. That's the attitude. Oh, okay, maybe I am sick. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe somebody knows a bit more than I do. So if a mufti, qualified mufti, you ask him or her, we have female muftis at Darul Qasim, by the way. If any of you women are ever in need of a female mufti where you don't want the male mufti to know what your problems are, you can write to the female mufti and you can put it on your memo. Please ask the female mufti to answer this. Yeah. So if a mufti or an alim who knows, hopefully what he knows, and is good, if he tells you this is wrong, don't argue. That is your cure. That is your Shifā. Don't say, oh, I've done my research. What the heck are you doing? Really? Internet research? Really? Well, have you put it through chat? AI? Oh, really? Is that the way that Muslims learn? Muslims learn heart to heart. So I'm saying is that when we are in a community that is, supposedly very educated and looking for knowledge and they're progressing in knowledge and they're eager to learn, and they, when it comes to Islamic rulings, especially fiqh, then don't be a mujtahid. You must rely on the knowledge of people who are ahead of you on the path. That's called taqleed. Rely on the expert who knows a bit more than you do about this subject. And it's the safest way. You do that with everything else in life. You have a toothache, you go to the dentist, and the dentist says, hey, you got a cavity. So you don't jump off the chair and say, hey, how dare you insult me? I don't have a cavity. I'm fine. He'll just say, get lost. Enjoy your cavity. If you go to the mechanic and you argue with the mechanic, this is not what's wrong. This shouldn't be here. This should. Don't argue. If you have a case, you go to the lawyer, then don't argue with the lawyer. Just take his advice. Maybe you might be protected from a lawsuit or whatever. Likewise, when you're talking about Islamic knowledge and a well-grounded person tells you this is not right, don't use your ijtihad because your ijtihad is false. It is batil, it is dalala, it is misguidance. Take the advice of the person who's higher than you in knowledge as a shifā, as a cure. It will hurt. It's not easy to take the advice of somebody where your whole thinking was, oh, I'm doing this good. As the Quran says, they assume they're doing good work, but then no, they're not doing good work, they're doing false work. So when that time comes, then you lay down your weapons and say, I submit, whatever you say. But it's difficult because number one, we're in America. You know what America is? The superpower. When you're in the superpower, you get the germs of the superpower. You get the pollutions of the superpower. You know superpowers? That every American thinks he's the best thing that happened to the planet. Every American. You go to the grocery store and you see this guy packing your grocery, your jewel, he's going to say, I'm better than you. That's just the mindset a superpower creates. It's natural, it's normal. Right or wrong, I'm not saying. I'm saying every person who's in the US will assume that I'm better because I'm in the best place on the planet. But Islam teaches you to look for the truth and follow the appropriate method, follow the normal convention of getting to the truth, ascertaining the truth. The truth is going to be with those people who know something about the field you are asking about. As I said, your dentist, your mechanic, your lawyer, your doctor, whoever it is, they know a bit more about the subject you want to know about than you do. So you acquiesce and say, okay, all right. Now you take that as Shifā. You're not even disgruntled about it. In fact, you're so happy that you'll pay the guy money to give you Shifā. You could do that to the alim too. You're welcome. Pay us as much money as you want. But take the darn pill. The pill will not be sweet. It will be bitter. It will be a challenge. It will be a mujahada for you to accept that you're wrong. But that's where the quest for more knowledge begins. And that is the mood of Surah Tawbah. Look through Surah Tawbah, any ayah, you'll see Allah is reprimanding the Sahabah, reprimanding the Sahabah, reprimanding the Sahabah. And who are the Sahabah? People who were promised Jannah. So if those people who made so much sacrifices for Allah, and this surah is at the end of the Prophet's life, by the way. It's revealed in the 9th year. Right, 1 year before the Prophet died. Right, so it's at the end of the Prophet's life. So if they were subject to scrutiny and introspect and evaluation and recalibration, then who are we? So we need to be evaluated, re-evaluated, reformed, refined all the time. And not stay stuck in some, cocoon that we refuse to, come out of. No, we're fine. This is the best thing I'm doing. And I will be rewarded. I'm doing service for the ummah. What do these people know? They don't know anything. Don't do that. It's not good for you. It's going to clog up your arteries and you're going to have a heart attack at the time you die. Huh? You won't be able to say the kalama. You have to understand that how this works is that it's going to impact your akhirah. And so what I'm saying is that when you understand the theory of Surah Bara, Surah Tawbah, and you understand the philosophy of Shifā, cure, one of the ayahs in this surah is Shifā, right? Then you must understand that human beings are being, guided through the Quran if they appreciate that they need guidance. If you don't appreciate that you're in constant need of guidance, you'll never be guided. But if you appreciate and you go into sajda and say, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Allahu Akbar, Allah is greater than everything, and then you say, I need guidance, then guidance is always available if you want to seek it and if you want to accept it. But if you don't want to accept the guidance that other people give you, and Allah gives you, either through the cosmos or through human beings. Allah guides through human beings. Yeah. So the human being is an ayah, is a sign of guidance. That's how the ulama work. That's how the awliya work. Now this is what their message to people is that, alhamdulillah, I'm a bit, further ahead on the path than you are. I, know a bit more than you know about this issue. Maybe you should listen to me and stop your whining. Get off your high horse. Take the pill. Swallow it, drink it. Then, subhanAllah, in a few moments, a few days, few weeks, you'll say, wow, this is totally new. This is fascinating stuff. You'll be guided. And with that guidance, you will have a peace of mind and a peace of heart. I'm doing the right thing. But if your actions are not guided, regulated by the people who are in the business of guidance, then you might be in a bit of trouble. So when somebody comes and tells you you're doing this wrong, don't be, what do you call it, negative. Don't be militant about it. Don't be defensive about it. Take it for what it is. You can inquire, you can investigate. That's fine. Said, I'm not sure about this. Can you explain this a bit more? People will explain to you in a calm way. This is what it is. Then you have to sit down and acquiesce to the guidance Allah is giving you. So I'm not guiding you. You are guiding you. Allah is there, and Allah is always going to guide you if you ask for guidance, because He is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He's always going to be with His Rahmah. He's going to show you through His love for you that I want you to be guided. I don't want you doing the wrong thing, because if you do the wrong thing, you'll end up in hell. And that's not the purpose of why the Rasul is sent to you. The purpose of the Rasul being sent to you is to take you away from Jahannam, bring you into Jannah through guidance. As I said, the Sahabah rarely, I haven't seen an instance where the Sahabah had any inkling of a rebellion against the Prophet ﷺ when he guided them. They accepted, acquiesce. They submitted completely, totally. Whatever you say, Ya Rasulullah, you are the Rasul, and you know much more than we do. But there are many occasions where in modern day society, if that was to happen in modern day society, there would have been a civil war. The Prophet ﷺ went to the women. And I'm not saying this to reprimand any, individual woman or the society of women. I'm just saying this as an example. He went to the women and he said to the women, be careful. Protect yourself by sadaqah, because I've seen the majority of people of hell are going to be women. There could have been a mutiny right there, right? Imagine if you said this today in the superpower called US of A. Oh, women are going to be in Jannah more than men, more than equal opportunity. There you go. You have one daraja above the men. Would have been a mutiny. How dare you insult us by saying that we're going to be in Jahannam? So now, what's the angle? The angle is, how did they react? What was their response? Do they not have female hormones? Sure. Are they not women? Sure. Do they not have their own pride and personal reputation to preserve for the Prophet to say that I saw you in hell? Sure they do. But their understanding was that, why is the Prophet seeing us in hell? Why am I in hell? Because the Prophet doesn't lie. So if the Prophet is saying this is going to happen, then it's going to happen. So I need to check myself and say, okay, what am I doing wrong that I'm in hell? That was their response. And that is the true response of a Muslim. I don't want to be in hell. So instead of rebelling, and you're creating a mutiny against the Prophet and checking the Prophet and telling him that I'm offended that the Rasul of Allah says I'm going to hell. They took away their own pride and their own arrogance, and they said, no. Wait a minute, he's speaking the truth. I need to know why I'm going to be there. So the Prophet ﷺ told them that you're there because of this. So then he collected sadaqah from them. And they gave a lot of sadaqah. They gave so much sadaqah that they gave their own personal jewelry to the Prophet ﷺ in that majlis. And then the reaction is not one of being defensive. Oh, this is now. He's not offending you. He's informing you of a truth that will happen if you don't shape up, if you don't reform. The Sahabah, they knew that if the Prophet said something, that it will happen. He's al-Mukhbir al-Sadiq. So instead of fighting with the Prophet, they said, oh, please, Ya Rasulullah, show us a way to prevent ourselves from going into hell. That was the attitude. Other than screaming human rights, women's rights. Now, see how distorted our thinking has become because we're in the superpower. The pollutions of the superpower come into us. That's what you get when you live in a superpower. You get these polluted ideas, distorted concepts and theories, and you don't know what the heck is going on. So I say that the Surah Tawbah, came as a revelation. It reveals the malaise, the illnesses of the Sahabah, so that the Sahabah could reform themselves and become leaders for the Ummah by reforming themselves, by taking the bitter pill, by taking the medicine, and by inculcating the Shifā that the Quran gives. And that's how it's done. So I'm saying that we have a lot of work to do within ourselves, in our approach, in our attitude, in our ideas and ideals, and so there's a lot of reform that is necessary in the Ummah. And inshallah, if we see the Quran as a Shifā, if we see Islam as a Shifā, if we see the Hadith as a Shifā, if we see the Sahabah's final conclusive action as a Shifā, then we're on the right track. But if you don't see that, you say, no, well, they're men, we are men. It doesn't work. There's no hidayah there. There's no guidance. Then you'll be left to roam around the desert for 40 years where you finish off the journey where you started in the morning. That's the fate of those who are misguided. Okay? Anyway, so this is, hopefully, I'm not condemning anybody here. I don't mean to be rude to anybody. I'm just saying that we have a long way to go before we can claim that we are on the right track. And that is why in every rakat of your salat, in every Surah Fatiha, you're asking for constant guidance. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Every time you read Surah Fatiha, you're making this dua. Why do you need to make it 10, 15 times a day? Allah hears it. So once will be enough. No. Every time you read Surah Fatiha, read this ayah. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Guide us onto the right path. But I'm already doing salat. What more guidance do you want? Right? If you want guidance, salat is guidance. But I'm already in guidance. So you're asking me to say that, give me more guidance. So you need more guidance. So it's a humbling approach that Islam will develop within you the ability to listen to what the Quran is saying, listen to what the Rasul is saying, listen to what the Sahabah are saying. You must listen. And the point of listening is obedience. Sami'ana wa ta'ana. We listen and we obey. The purpose of listening to the Quran is what? Obedience. Not disobedience, not rebellion, not resistance, not being, what do you call it, negative and defensive. Anyway, we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us guidance through the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to take the Shifā that the Quran gives us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure us from all physical, mental, intellectual, psychological, and spiritual diseases. Amin ya Rabbal Alameen wa sallallahu ta'ala khayr khalqi Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya Allah.